Welcome to Threads of Truth, the podcast where real-life mysteries meet internet speculation. Today, we ask, what happens when the last person seen with two missing men is a police officer, and no one is held accountable?
It's a deeply unsettling scenario, isn't it?
It really is. We're diving into a core enigma today. Two men, Terrance Williams and Felipe Santos. They vanished within just months of each other back in Naples, Florida, early 2000s.
And the chilling connection, the thread tying these two vanishings together.
Exactly. They were both last seen alive with the same Collier County Sheriff's Deputy, Steve Calkins.
Which forces you to ask some really hard questions.
Right. Can a case like this, where you know who they were last seen with, a named person of interest who's in a position of authority, can it really stay unsolved for 2 decades?
It seems impossible, but here we are.
So our mission today is to, examine the timelines we have based on the sources. We need to unpack the stories, the really inconsistent stories told by Calkins.
And explore what this all means, the broader societal implications. This case has haunted these families for so long.
Absolutely. And it shines a harsh light on, justice and accountability, doesn't it?
It really does. It's complex, infuriating for the families, certainly. And it shows the challenges when the system itself, or someone within it, is at the center of the mystery.
That lack of resolution, despite such a clear pattern, it's what makes it so compelling, but also just deeply frustrating.
You need to pull on those threads, the ones connecting Felipe Santos and Terrance Williams.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning then. To understand the pattern, we have to go back to the first man, Felipe Santos. Tell us about him. How did he end up crossing paths with Deputy Calkins?
Felipe Santos. He was a young guy, 23, maybe 24, according to some records. He was a Mexican immigrant living in Immokalee, Florida, back in 2003.
Okay.
He'd been in the U.S. for about 3 years, working hard like so many do, sending money back home to his family in Mexico. That was his focus.
So he had strong ties back home.
Very strong ties.
Mm.
And that context, it's really crucial. Because being undocumented, not having a driver's license, it put him in a really vulnerable spot.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can see how that might complicate things with law enforcement.
Exactly. It played a huge role, perhaps a fatal one, in what happened next.
So what was the incident? How did he actually meet Calkins that day?
It was surprisingly ordinary to start with. October 1st, 2003. Some sources say the 14th, but definitely October 2003. Felipe got into a minor car accident, just a fender bender.
Okay, it happens all the time.
Right. He was actually on his way to work. His 2 brothers were in the car with him. But the key thing, because he was undocumented, no driver's license, that immediately raised the stakes.
And Deputy Calkins' response to the scene, what was that interaction like? Did things escalate quickly?
Calkins arrived, yeah. And according to witnesses, Felipe's brothers, the other driver involved, his demeanor was, concerning right away.
How so?
He cited Santos, for reckless driving, no license, no insurance. But the witnesses specifically noted Calkins seemed really agitated.
Agitated? About what?
Specifically about Felipe's lack of documentation, his immigration status. It wasn't just procedural. There was this tension, this visible frustration from Calkins.
That's a worrying detail. It gives you a sense of his mindset, maybe?
It does. It suggests it wasn't just a routine response for him.
So what happened next? This is the crucial part, right? The last time anyone saw Felipe.
The sources are chillingly consistent on this.
Mm-hmm.
Calkins put Felipe Santos in the back of his patrol car.
Okay.
And then he just drove away from the accident scene. That's it. That is the absolute last time anyone verifiably saw Felipe Santos alive.
Just drove away with him?
Drove away. A man in the custody of a law enforcement officer vanishes.
Yeah.
The implications are just staggering.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where it gets, not just interesting, but deeply suspicious, like you said. Calkins drives off with Felipe.
Oh.
Then what? What's his story?
His story is, the first massive red flag. He later told investigators he decided not to arrest Santos after all.
Changed his mind. Why?
He claimed Felipe was, and I quote, polite and cooperative. So, according to Calkins, he just decided to let him go.
Let him go where? He had him in his car.
He claimed he dropped Santos off at a nearby Circle K convenience store. That was his official explanation later.
A Circle K. Okay.
Yeah.
But does that story hold up at all?
Not really. Not when you look closer. First off, Felipe was never booked into the county jail. Never processed.
Okay, that's weird. Someone was expecting him, right?
Yes, his foreman. His boss was actually on his way to the jail to pick Felipe up, ready to post bail. He called the jail. No record of Felipe Santos, ever.
Wow. Okay, so that directly contradicts Calkins.
Completely. And second, the Circle K Calkins mentioned. It wasn't near Felipe's job. It wasn't near his home in Immokalee either. It made no sense logistically.
Why drop him there?
Exactly. Why drop someone who needs to get somewhere specific at a random inconvenient spot? And crucially, no witnesses in the Circle K saw him. No surveillance footage ever backed up Calkins' claim.
So just Calkins' word for it.
Entirely his word. An uncorroborated story that seems illogical, especially given Felipe's situation and Calkins' reported agitation earlier. It doesn't add up at all.
It really doesn't. And then, unbelievably, just a few months later,
Right.
it happens again.
Yeah, I mean, as if one vanishing wasn't horrifying enough. Just 3 months later, the pattern repeats. Terrance Williams disappears.
And the circumstances are just eerily similar.
Profoundly similar.
Yeah.
January 12, 2004, Terrance Williams vanishes. He was 27, a black man originally from Tennessee, father of 4 kids.
And he'd recently moved to Florida.
Yes, specifically to be closer to his mother, Marcia Williams.
Yeah.
And she becomes, as we'll definitely discuss more, just an incredible force in fighting for answers in this case. A real hero.
Her strength is unbelievable. So what happened with Terrance? How did he encounter Calkins? Another accident?
No, this time it was a traffic stop.
Yeah.
Terrance was driving his car, a white Cadillac, and there was an eyewitness.
An eyewitness to the stop.
Yes, an employee at a cemetery right there in Naples saw Deputy Steve Calkins pull Terrance over.
Okay, that's huge. An independent witness.
Absolutely critical. Now, the sources do mention Terrance had an outstanding warrant for child support. It's not clear if Calkins knew that when he pulled him over, or if it was just, a routine stop initially.
But the stop itself was witnessed.
Definitely. Someone saw Calkins interact with Terrance Williams.
So the cemetery witness sees the stop. What did they see Calkins do?
The witness saw Calkins pat Terrance down, then saw Calkins put Terrance in the back of the patrol car.
So again, confirmed in custody.
Confirmed in custody. Then Calkins actually walks over to the witness and asks if he can leave Terrance's Cadillac there in the cemetery parking lot.
That's odd, isn't it? Why ask permission to leave it there?
It is odd. And then a little while later, the same witness saw Calkins move the Cadillac himself, moved it further down the road, away from the cemetery entrance.
Moving the car. That seems, I don't know, like managing the scene.
Yeah.
Hiding something.
It raises serious questions. It shows Calkins interacting with the vehicle after Terrance was already in his patrol car, and doing it without any official report, apparently.
So given this eyewitness, Calkins' story must have been different this time, right? I mean, the inconsistencies you mentioned.
You'd think so, but it's almost worse. When Calkins was first questioned about Terrance Williams, his initial response, he denied it entirely.
Denied the stop, even with a witness.
Denied having any contact with Terrance Williams whatsoever. A flat denial.
That's brazen.
It's incredibly alarming, especially contrasted with a clear eyewitness account. But when investigators confronted him, said, look, we have someone who saw you, well,
then the story changes.
Then the story starts to change. Not just once, multiple times. He was basically cornered by the witness statement.
So what did he eventually say happened? Let me guess. A Circle K.
Unbelievably, yes. He actually landed on a story very similar to the one he used for Felipe. He claimed Terrance asked for a ride to a Circle K.
Why this time?
Supposedly, Terrance needed a ride there to go to work.
Did Terrance Williams work at a Circle K?
No, he did not. So that claim immediately falls apart. And just like with Felipe, zero verification, no witnesses at this supposed Circle K drop-off, no surveillance footage, nothing.
That's the exact same MO, almost like a script.
It's uncanny. 2 different men months apart, last seen with Deputy Calkins. Both times, Calkins claims a drop-off at a Circle K. Both times, no official arrest record, no booking, and zero corroboration for his story.
The pattern is just undeniable. And these inconsistencies, they had consequences for Calkins professionally.
They did. An internal affairs investigation was launched specifically because of these conflicting statements, the shifting narratives, the lack of reports. It was unavoidable.
And they used polygraphs.
Yes, Calkins took 3 polygraph tests during that IA investigation. And significantly, one of those tests showed indications of deception.
Deception. So a lie detector suggested he wasn't being truthful.
That's what the results indicated, yes.
Mm-hmm.
While polygraphs aren't typically admissible as direct evidence in court, That result is a really powerful piece of this puzzle, pointing towards the unreliability of his account.
Okay, so you've got eyewitnesses, conflicting stories, a failed polygraph. What happened to Deputy Calkins legally? What were the official consequences?
Well, based on all that, the inconsistencies, the findings from internal affairs, Deputy Steve Calkins was fired.
Fired from the Collier County Sheriff's Office.
Correct. His termination was a direct result of the investigation. It confirms the sheriff's office found him guilty of official misconduct, that his statements weren't truthful. It was an admission, at least departmentally, that he'd acted improperly.
Okay, fired for misconduct. And this is the part that just stops you cold. No criminal charges.
Yeah.
Ever. For either disappearance?
No, none.
How is that possible with everything we just laid out?
And that brings us to a really crucial and frankly painful aspect of the legal system, especially in Florida at the time. The huge hurdle was proving homicide.
Proving murder.
Yes. Traditionally, to bring a murder charge in Florida, prosecutors need definitive proof of death. That usually means finding a body.
Or a confession.
Or confession, exactly. Or, some kind of overwhelming, direct physical evidence that proves a crime occurred and the person is deceased.
But they never found Felipe or Terrance.
Never found their bodies. And Calkins never confessed. So without that direct proof of death, prosecutors felt they couldn't meet the legal burden for a murder charge in court.
Even with all the circumstantial evidence, the pattern, the lies, the firing.
Even with all of that, circumstantial evidence, however strong, often isn't considered enough on its own in Florida for a murder conviction. Without that proof, the body. It's a legal standard that, in this case, has left the families completely without criminal justice.
So Calkins walks free from criminal prosecution because of this legal technicality, essentially.
That's the devastating reality. His firing acknowledged misconduct, but the lack of direct evidence, specifically the bodies, created an insurmountable barrier for criminal charges related to the disappearances themselves. It's a stark example of how the system can fail victims when that crucial piece of physical evidence is missing.
It's incredibly frustrating. And when the official investigation hits a wall like that, where does the case go? Often it moves online, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. When official channels seem exhausted, the internet becomes this forum for speculation, for keeping the story alive, for demanding answers. The digital pursuit of truth kicks in.
What are the main theories circulating online about Calkins and these disappearances?
The biggest one, the one you see most often on places like Reddit or true crime forums, is basically the serial killer cop theory.
That sounds intense. What's the core idea?
The core belief is simple. Calkins is responsible for their deaths, period. It stems directly from him being the last person seen with both men, and his stories being so unbelievable and inconsistent. The pattern is just too strong for people online to dismiss.
Do they speculate on motive? Why would he do it?
Motives are debated online, naturally, but common themes that come up are things like racism, definitely an abuse of power, maybe a disdain for people he saw as lesser, particularly men of color like Terrance or undocumented immigrants like Felipe. The idea is these biases fueled his actions.
And Reddit has been big on this.
Oh yeah. Subreddits like Unresolved Mysteries or True Crime, they're filled with discussions. People dissect the timelines, Calkins statements, everything. And the disposal theory is huge there.
The idea of how we might have hidden the bodies?
Exactly. Since the bodies were never found, the prevailing theory online is that Calkins used his knowledge of the area, Naples, Collier County, lots of isolated spots, swamps, woods, to dispose of the evidence, to hide the bodies where they'd likely never be found. People even look at maps, trying to figure out possible locations based on his known movements or patrol routes.
And this isn't just some fringe internet theory.
No, not at all. It aligns with what the families believe, what much of the public suspects, and, unofficially, what many in law enforcement probably think too, even if they can't prove it in court.
Beyond just Calkins acting alone, are there theories about broader issues, institutional problems?
Yes, definitely. That's another major thread in the online discussion, the idea of potential cover-up.
A cover-up by the sheriff's office?
Well, some theories suggest Calkins might not have acted entirely alone, or that maybe there was an effort, even an informal one, within the department to protect him, protect one of their own. This theory tries to explain why criminal charges were never filed, despite everything we know.
Is there actual evidence of a cover-up?
No, There's no concrete proof of an organized cover-up. It's more speculation driven by the lack of answers and the perceived reluctance to prosecute one of their own. But the idea resonates because the outcome feels unjust to so many.
And platforms like TikTok and YouTube, they're involved too.
Massively. Creators on TikTok and YouTube often make content about this case. They break down the timeline, highlight the inconsistencies, and really focus on that idea of institutional bias, how the system might protect law enforcement. They ask tough questions about accountability.
So it's less about Calkins as one bad apple and more about potential systemic failures.
Exactly. The conversation online often shifts to, does this silence, this lack of prosecution, point to something bigger than just one rogue officer? And there's also a lot of criticism about the investigation itself.
Like how Calkins was questioned?
Yeah, many argue online that he was questioned way too late, that the delay gave him time, potentially, for evidence to be lost or destroyed, making a case even harder to build. Whether that delay was intentional or just procedural slowness, online communities see it as a critical failure.
It's also worth remembering the initial story authorities put out there, right? The one everyone now dismisses.
Oh, absolutely. You have to mention the runaway theory. That was the initial official line.
That both men just left on their own.
Yeah. The police initially suggested Felipe ran off to avoid deportation issues after the accident, and Terrance ran off because of his child support warrant. Basically, Calkins had nothing to do with it. They just chose to disappear.
But that never made sense to the families, did it?
Not for a second.
Good.
And it's widely discredited now. Both Felipe and Terrance had really strong family ties. Felipe was sending money home consistently. Terrance had just moved to be closer to his mom, and he had 4 kids.
It just doesn't fit their profiles at all.
Exactly. Vanishing without a word. Totally out of character for both of them. That's why the runaway theory feels so improbable, even disrespectful to the families who knew them best and were desperately searching for them. The internet and the families saw right through that one pretty quickly.
So let's circle back to the core question. Justice. After all this time, why no criminal charges? What does it all mean?
It really boils down to that legal wall we talked about. In Florida, proving homicide without a body or a confession is incredibly difficult. The standard of proof is just so high for a criminal conviction.
Even with a mountain of circumstantial evidence.
Even then. This case is a brutal illustration of how that legal standard, designed to protect the innocent, can sometimes shield the likely guilty when direct physical proof is missing. It leaves the families in this awful limbo, with strong suspicions but no criminal accountability.
And it highlights that gap, doesn't it, between strong suspicion and legal proof.
A huge gap. And it forces us to look at those broader issues too. You cannot ignore the role race and immigration status play here. Terrance Williams, black man. Felipe Santos, an undocumented Mexican immigrant.
A vulnerable population.
Exactly. And their cases became symbols in this larger national conversation about police accountability, about the relationship between law enforcement and minority communities. It touches on that idea of police immunity, the thin blue line, the perception that officers are sometimes protected from consequences.
Which leads back to that question, is justice applied equally when the suspect wears a badge?
That's the million-dollar question this case throws into sharp relief. The outcome here certainly suggests a troubling disparity, at least in the perception of the families and the public.
But amidst all this darkness, there's also incredible strength, right? The advocacy efforts have been remarkable.
Absolutely remarkable. You have to talk about Terrance Williams' mother, Marcia Williams. Her fight has been relentless. For 2 decades, she has refused to let this go.
Facing down what she sees as corruption and failure?
Yes. She's been on TV, held press conferences, marched, pleaded. Her sheer determination is arguably the main reason this case hasn't just faded away. She is the heart of the fight for answers.
And then there was celebrity involvement too, which brought a lot of attention.
Huge attention. Tyler Perry, the actor and producer, he heard about the case, met with Marcia Williams, and was deeply moved. He stepped up in a major way.
He offered a reward, right?
A massive one. $200,000 for information leading to answers. That alone brought a huge surge of publicity. But he did more funded legal help, investigations, to put billboards across Florida. His involvement put serious national pressure on the case.
That's incredible support.
It really is. And you also have to acknowledge the civil rights lawyers working pro bono and those internet communities we mentioned, Reddit, YouTube, TikTok. They keep talking, keep demanding, keep remembering. They act as this constant collective pressure.
Plus the national media.
Yeah, shows like Disappeared, Anderson Cooper 360. They've covered it, keeping it in the national spotlight, ensuring law enforcement can't just quietly close the book, even without charges. It shows public pressure can make a difference, even if it doesn't lead to a conviction.
So we're left with this haunting question. If the only person linking two disappearances won't speak, if the bodies are never found and the legal system hits a wall, how do you ever find the truth? How do families find any kind of closure?
It's the question that hangs over everything, isn't it? A truly unresolved, deeply troubling mystery.
Thank you for walking us through this incredibly difficult case today. And thank you for joining us in Threads of Truth. Next time on Threads of Truth, we check into room 302 and examine the strange and little-known death of Elisa Gomez, found lifeless in a locked San Antonio hotel room with no signs of trauma and far more questions than answers.